you, Ben?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good,
everyone. I think we have quite a treat for you tonight. I'm joined by Ben Little, the head brewer at Fourscore Brewing Company, or Beer Company, sorry. I wish breweries would just come on one standard, because I end up choosing the wrong one almost always.
We went back and forth on it, but it was ended up Beer Company, made it a little shorter.
And then the one, the only, Chef Niko from Roasthouse Pub. So I think the virtual beer dinner went successfully. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool. I think we had a nice discussion last night, but I'm in agreement. I didn't imagine it to be that seamless, and I think it really took off so well. So,
and apparently way more people than bought the meal kits for the virtual dinner watched the video, because last time I looked, it was just shy of 1,500 views. So people wanted to hear you talk about food and Ben talk about beer.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's super encouraging. That's a good feel good.
So did you guys discuss ahead of time the beers that were going to be paired, or Ben, did you just say, hey, Niko, this is what I'm actually going to have available, make it work?
So honestly, this was planned before all this stuff hit, and we had to put it on hold. And it was something that kind of, I think it pained both of us, because we've been looking forward to it. Niko and I have known each other for many years now, worked together in many past lives, and we connect really well and work really well together. So this was like, I'm finally able to get some beer into Maryland. We're finally able to, I feel like I'm hitting my stride in terms of the brewery. So when all this came down, it was such a disappointment to not be able to do this and not have this experience. And it was something we've been looking forward to and talking about for so long, that we each talked a variety of times over the past, few weeks, months, whatever it may be now. And we were always trying to find a way to make it happen and make it work. And one night I texted him, or he texted me or called me or something, and it came to the point where we were both on the same page in terms of trying to make this happen virtually. And how does this work? And how do we do things to make sure that it's the experience that we both expect to, give our guests and give our customers? And it was pretty seamless in terms of that. So the initial beer list I was talking about had to be modified, because then we had to go to basically cans. Providing we had some bottles, but bottles, sending people home with 17 ounces of beer for one quart of sometimes up to 16% beers probably isn't the best idea for this. So, luckily we passed through what was around or what was coming up, and it worked with what, Niko had kind of planned and had thought out. So it worked great. There were some really good beers that paired well with food. So it was a pretty natural fit on this one.
So Niko, when you first thought of the idea of the virtual beer dinner, was this right where you started from, or did the idea evolve as you thought more about it? Because when we went last night to shoot the video, it was way better than I imagined in my mind it was going to be. I think you could not have executed it more perfectly.
Well, I guess going back to what Ben had mentioned, we were disappointed, and love working with Ben and known Ben for many years. And, with the idea, I obviously reached out to him immediately, and it was kind of funny because Ben's like, I was kind of thinking along those lines, and, we kind of think alike. Hence that's, why we work well together. And so we batted around, how's this going to look? And then obviously it dawned on me and became quite apparent that we need to reach out to you, Chris. You have the ability, and obviously have proven that you have the ability to put together quite a masterpiece as far as the virtual beer dinner. So, that's where it started. And again, Chris, I can't thank you and Graham enough for taking the time out to do this. It just worked out so well. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. And again, thank you everybody who showed interest. And we might have to continue down this path for a little while. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But we had a damn good practice run, that's for sure.
Well, I appreciate the compliments, but I believe I was the only one that screwed anything up last night. But I am going to pat myself on the back that I recovered well, and the camera work after the first course was much better than the debacle of the first one.
I also like how we all decided to wear our hats. I like it.
Oh yeah, you have to be on brand.
Yeah, on brand. There we go.
So I'm very jealous of Larry, our buddy Larry Pomerantz.
There he is.
He's eating those tacos right now, and those tacos were ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chris and then after you left, Chris and Graham are pretty much devoured everything.
That's awesome. That's all. The food looked fantastic. I mean, it really, really did. And I think the pairings fit perfectly. I think everything was just so well executed from your guys' side of things. It was really incredible to kind of sit back and watch as Niko was doing his thing back in the kitchen. I came back around the counter and just watched it from the other side and watched it live and was able to kind of see everything go down. It was pretty surreal. And just it felt like watching almost like a Food Network show or something like that. It was so well produced and so well put on and just so interactive and fun.
It really was. You guys did just a tremendous job in executing. It was awesome. Ben, your beer is fantastic, by the way, brother.
Thank you.
I did try 2 out of 4 last night when I got home, and I found a nice, peaceful little spot in my day, and really enjoyed them. So thank you so much. Delicious, brother.
Thank you.
That's what I'm enjoying all together right now, along with Mara, who should be working, but she's at home enjoying the meal while we're working.
The first year she didn't have to work.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that Bill Elliott enjoyed the experience. That's what Niko and Ben were shooting for. And I think, and what people may not know is, I think one of the most impressive things that you guys did last night is that video was all one take. We did not do any editing. There was slight editing to cut out in between restarting from going from the beer to the Niko preparing the next course. But other than that, it was all one take.
Yeah, that was one take. Kind of like a Fish concert, It was one take. It was improv at its best for sure.
And of my mind, it was pretty much, it was going to be whatever happened because I was tired.
And you know what? It was damn fun, and that's the whole point of this. I know there's a lot of people out there that are, whatever occupation they're in, there's people struggling, and just having that sense of just that human sense, just feeling a little bit human again for once. It was really nice to share that with you guys, and it certainly was surreal. I'm not going to lie, but you know what? It was a blast, and we've got something down here, and I'm looking forward to, if we need to continue this route, we will.
I want to start lobbying for you to have your own cooking show because you're pretty much a natural at it.
Whatever you need from me, brother, I'm here for you.
So Kathleen's on the salad. That was the welcome course, right? So
yeah.
She's got a whole amazing experience ahead of her. But that fish was ridiculously good. What did you encrust that with again?
So I've got a dehydrator. So we took some local organic beets, shaved them down to create some more surface area, and dried them, and then essentially just milled them and turned them into a flour with some seasoning. And
Ben, what was the beer paired with that again?
That was the local beer. So that was 100% Pennsylvania ingredient Vienna style lager. We had a founders club when we opened, and a few people signed up for it. And one of the experiences was creating a recipe with me, brewing the beer with me, et cetera, et cetera. And John, one of our founders, worked with me on that. His favorite style is Vienna Lager. And it just made a lot of sense. There was a lot of German heritage in Pennsylvania. We have some great access to malt from Deer Creek out there. They do some fantastic stuff that I've never touched from a local side of things before. And then there's a guy, Curtis from River Hill Hops, who just kept beating me up on Facebook Messenger about trying his hops. And I've really never had the best of experiences with local hops. Whether I just fit them in the wrong place or just didn't have good product or whatever it may have been. But these were fantastic. I mean, they were up there with some of the stuff I get from a commercial level. So it was a really nice, easy fit to work all of this local grain and local malt into a beer and have a Pennsylvania born and bred dude who stayed there pretty much his entire life. Do that with him. And just, you know, I thought it was just the perfect beer to pair with food because it is pretty expressive while still being really sessionable and easy drinking at the same time.
So the next course was the soup, right, Niko?
Yes, and I had a quick question for Ben. I'm just curious, when the grain bill changes on, for example, lager styles, and those require, I guess some people would call it cold fermentation, do you need to adjust your temperature range as far as how low or how high you set that based on your grain bill?
You know, to me, it's building a recipe is all about big picture. So it's about taking, and it's the same as you do, you know, in terms of building a recipe for food. You want to take into account everything, and everything affects everything, literally from top to bottom. So, you know, mash temperature does, the grist bill does, what I'm doing with the hops in the kettle, you know, and something like this, where I'm really focusing on balance and not focusing on being a hop accentuated beer. It's really all about trying to get all the ingredients to work together and just create balance in a beer like that where there's very little hide. You know, I'm playing with some Vienna malt from them. I'm playing with some pale malt. I'm playing with some different kinds of Munich from them. So it's all these malts I typically get from, if I was building this traditionally, it'd be German malt. Although we make these styles of malt US, wherever it may be. But, you know, if I'm doing a Vienna style lager, I'm doing German style malt or German grown malt, excuse me. So with this one doing Pennsylvania grown malt, I've already had access to it. I know what they're doing, and I know it's the high quality, and I know kind of the little pieces that come with that. I know what I want that finish to be like. I know what I want that hop character to be like. So it's just about building that recipe to take all those factors into account. And really, fermentation, it's pretty standard in a lager, especially one like this. It is colder fermented, but that doesn't affect anything except for making a super clean beer. Something like that. I have a brewery and a set up to be able to give that beer the time that it needs in the tanks to produce that good, clean, crisp, clear beer.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Joseph thought the radishes were a nice touch on the salad. That salad, like for a salad, was ridiculously good too. Like everything just complemented and made itself great. And absolutely move over Gordon Ramsay. You're nothing compared to Niko. Because that'll lead me straight to, where the hell did you come up with the idea to make bacon out of carrots?
Well, probably 2 months ago, I was doing one of my last catering jobs, and I was slicing ribbons of carrot on the slicer. Typically meats go on slicer. Of course, you can obviously slice vegetables. And as they were coming off the slicer into my left palm, I realized that you know what, that looks like a bacon strip a little bit. And then I realized, well, you know, it's time. We've been working on some new menu items. Of course, that's been shut down temporarily, but that's fine. We're going to start slowly rolling those out. And we wanted to come up with a really cool vegan or vegetarian burger or sandwich, you know, maybe a BLT or something like that. And so I started just playing around with these ribbons of carrot and just created a technique. It's just basically blanching them for about 45 seconds, getting them in an ice bath, straining them, patting them dry, getting them out on a sheet tray with parchment paper. And then we just basically make a glaze for them with liquid smoke and molasses, balsamic vinegar, honey, maple syrup, cinnamon, garlic, salt, pepper, chili powder. And we just kind of dip the ribbons, and then we just kind of treat it like bacon. I think you guys were able to try a piece last night. So they're interesting. They've got a little crunchier texture, but sort of a similar flavor profile, and they're fun. They're just fun. It's always fun. I know Ben can attest to this. Is experimenting is the best form of practice, and if you're not willing to experiment, well, then you just might miss out on a great idea at the end of the day.
I think the strips of those would be great on like a black bean burger, or like one of the oats type grain veggie burger type things.
Like a quinoa. I was thinking maybe like quinoa, black bean, and sweet potato burger or something.
Yeah, that would be good.
And just do might as well throw the gluten-free bun in there too with it.
No, the pretzel bun you have. Forget it. We want the gluten.
I know we do, but we've had people actually come in that say they were gluten-free but are just pounding beer. So that always my head.
I think I've heard the alcohol cancels it out.
Oh, I see. That's the secret.
Yeah. So Ben, what beer was that with?
That one was with the Solidarity Saison. So we had a beer dinner planned at the brewery with our friends from Deer Creek Malt. That when that didn't happen, that was kind of one of the focuses. That was a collaboration with them. So we shifted in the moment and actually turned that beer into a way to give right back to the community. One of our it's called Roots Harvest. They were providing meals for kids who couldn't get them for themselves. And when this all hit, the local grocery stores, which were providing 75 to 90% of what they were getting, weren't able to give them anything anymore. So we were able to turn this over. Deer Creek helped with us on this one to provide, some of the costs back in that beer. All the proceeds from that went to Roots Harvest. And it was a Saison built out of, again, 100% Deer Creek malt, Pilsner malt, buckwheat, spelt, and pale oats. And then we hopped it with Hallertau Blanc from Germany. And it was just a fun beer. It was something that I hadn't brought that yeast strain or yeast strains into that side of things before. We have a mixed fermentation room in the brewery, and that's usually where that stuff lives. So this was the first, quote unquote, clean fermented Saison that we had done in the brewery and were able to can. And it was just a fun one to do and a good story. And it was one of those things. Everybody says pivot right now. That's one of the big words. And we were able to pivot and really give back to a community on that one. But Saisons typically are really good food-friendly beers. So that was one that I kind of pushed from the beginning because I knew that Niko could do something special with this one.
I like the term culinary martial arts.
I just saw that. That's very funny. That's very funny, John. That's good stuff.
So the next one was what we've already touched on a little bit, the ridiculously good taco, which I remember. I think the first beer dinner I ever attended was the one you did with Oscar Blues. That was, I think, all tacos, right?
Yes.
And those were amazing tacos during that. And you've had you've had tacos in a couple other beer dinners, I believe. Like there's one where you made the tortilla yourself, and that was actually my favorite part of the entire meal was your homemade tortilla. But that taco last night was just ridiculous.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, Mario, was with Jeff.
Yes. I know Ben's a huge fan of tacos, so anytime I have the pleasure to see Ben and he visits us, I'm always happy to make Ben tacos, believe me.
So and then what that was paired with all together, right?
Correct.
Which so you said this this rendition of all together is very close to Other Half's recipe.
Absolutely. Yeah, they put out that recipe, and it was one of those things. You chose to go either the hazy route or you chose to go the East Coast or West Coast route. Excuse me. We obviously went the hazy route. That's kind of my game, and that seems to be what people are attracted to these days. So we stuck with it. The only thing we did, we threw a few Pennsylvania ingredients in there, and we subbed out some of the top additions we had, such as like Mosaic or Simcoe. We put the cryo versions of those in there, which are basically like, for simplification purposes, we'll call them freeze-dried, like concentrated kind of sides of those. So even though I'm adding similar additions in terms of the quantity that they want to use, we use a little bit more because I'm a heavier dry hopper. I'm more about the aromatic side of things. And so this one, we definitely went a little more aromatic than the recipe would have given if we went straight after it. But I think that we stayed pretty damn close with small, variations on what they had put out there for us to use.
Did you happen to have Other Halves?
I did not. I know Downtown Crown got some, and I just haven't been out too much lately.
Yeah, I'm not going to drive to Gaithersburg right now.
It's funny. I got to Rockville last week in about 17 minutes. I don't think I've ever accomplished that.
Yeah.
Literally. 270 every morning. That's usually an hour and 15 minutes in the morning. I'm getting there in sub an hour every day right now. I'm spoiled at this point.
But I really enjoyed this rendition of it. I've had several at this point, and I can tell you, like we were talking last night, like Mike at Idiom, he really altered the recipe a lot. But from what I remember of it, it's not a tremendously different taste. I mean, it's still you would be able to tell that. Although I guess you could really say that about a lot of hazy beers, but it was. I think I'm gonna have to try them back to back to see if, how similar I think they are having them together.
I'd agree with you. The flavor profiles in those and hazies, like they meld together quite a bit. There's not much you can do in terms of providing a ton of variation and give people what they're looking for and what they want and what they really respond to. But yeah, we stuck pretty close. I thought it was cool. I always think it's cool I can give anyone my recipe. I can brew right next to someone and it's not going to turn out the same. And every potential, piece might be the same or close to the same. Just name of the game is it's always going to be just slightly different. So I thought it was a cool concept in terms of giving everybody something that they can kind of riff off of, but also keep kind of in tune to what the true idea and true nature of this was. And a lot of it had to do, honestly, with like ingredients, like being able to get those hops and being able to get the malts, pretty easy access sort of thing. So it was something we all have access to some extent.
You know what just dawned on me, Niko? I have had countless beers in your presence, but I don't think I have ever had a beer with you.
Chris, I think you are right.
I mean, I've had plenty of beers with Ben over the years, but
I know I'm missing out. But when I see you, I'm typically working.
So am I.
Well, I think in your case that probably can be overlooked. I typically I just never been able to mix the two. When I work, I'm working. If I'm drinking, I'm drinking.
I guess that's fair. I mean, I'm working right now though. What was that, Ben? You cut up.
Work. I am not drinking. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I would appreciate probably when brewers are working, they probably there's a lot of things that you're risking your life with. There's a lot of ways you can kill yourself while brewing beer. So you definitely should not be drinking during that time. I'm just talking into a microphone, and I guess the worst thing I could do is say something to embarrass myself.
I know some folks that do, and more power to them, but no way.
I mean, when there's hot things and sharp things and flames and it's probably best that I'm not drinking.
No. There's too much that can take my skin off.
Yeah.
Acids and high pressure containers and
Exactly.
All right, so the final meal was the one or the final course is one of the things you tend to go we'll just say overboard with, because also one of the early beer dinners I went to was the one with Old Mother. I think that was probably like the second one, and you made that ice cream sandwich with a pretzel bun type thing that was basically the size of a human head. I think like the dessert itself was basically the size of all the other courses combined. So I had never heard of opera cake before. Can you explain to morons like me what opera cake is?
Well, it's a French style cake. It's probably at least 120-year-old recipe. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking almond pound cake, and it's essentially the French version of a tiramisu. So you create these layers with ganache, French buttercream, and the almond pound cake, and then you actually soak it in a bit of coffee, kind of like a tiramisu is done, which of course is an Italian version. And then again, it's just all about creating those layers, making sure you're using good chocolate. Good chocolate is key to anything, of course. And that's really about it. And then we just did I always like to add a little citrus note or a little bit of acidity sometimes to cut against the chocolate. So after reading Ben's ingredients, of course, a shit ton of Oreo cookies. I thought Grand Marnier, of course, French as well. So a Grand Marnier syrup I thought would accompany that nicely.
Ben, so that was paired with Wookie Monster.
Yes.
Which I have one of those cans too. I should have brought those in to show the can because the can's pretty cool. That beer is basically 50% cookies, or
there are so many cookies in it. Like I had our chef order 100 pounds of cookies from food purveyors. Easiest way to get it and cheapest way to get it quite often. And 100 pounds showed up, and I'm just like, what the hell am I going to do with this? It was the same. The original beer that was supposed to be this was Ducking Autocorrect, which I had 250 pounds of coconut with, which I ended up only being able to work in 150 pounds to the first tank because I couldn't shut the door, and then had to transfer it on to the next 100 pounds in another tank. Well, this one I kind of took it easy, and I was able to build some of those base flavors between the grist build and some other adjuncts with cocoa nibs and vanilla beans. So I was able to amp it up with that and really kind of give it a good base. So I thought 100 pounds of Oreos, yeah, that's not that bad. It shouldn't be awful. Yeah, that was a lot of Oreos. And it was, yeah. And the other side of that is obviously Oreos. There's not much natural about Oreos. So that was a fun experiment too. I knew it would be that, but not to the extent that it gave. But I feel like it turned out, one of the things I did with that beer is I really provided a low level of carbonation because I wanted to drink like a liquid Oreo. The first sip I had of it, it was like, oh crap, I actually did it, I was super happy with it. And it's different. 9% Imperial Stouts are kind of like a no man's land right now, because they're not quite big enough to be super thick and super, syrupy and sweet. It's pretty sweet, but I still wanted to be pretty drinkable. I didn't want it to completely coat your mouth. I wanted you to get through 16 ounces and not be like, man, that was way too much. I wanted you to be like, that was, just enough.
Yeah, I'm going to save one of those for when I'm drinking at home, not in the studio.
Yes. Goodbyes. Same with the Wilford that you have.
Yeah, that one is waiting for someone to share it with me at my house.
I've known folks who have gone through the bottle with themselves by themselves, and we're okay halfway through, then realized really just how big that beer was. After
Yeah, I'm not going to try to tackle it by myself. And what is the this is not the fluff you're looking for. What percent is that?
15.
Yeah, that's that one. That one I'm going to say for Graham, because Graham is a huge Star Wars nerd. So I'll save that for when we can drink it together.
A lot of that was another founder's brew with one of our founders, Eric, and he brought in a bunch of peanut butter beers, peanut butter stout specifically, and kind of we went through them and went through the flavor profile and really built it through peanut flour and then back end PB2 and some other stuff like that. The fun thing about we do, like, we're a 7-barrel brew system, and a lot of those beers I do what's called first running, and I don't sparge them, so I don't rinse the grains. I just take what is provided, through the strike water and the grain bill, the grist bill, and I take what's off those, and I feel that provides a massive layer of richness, and it's not watered down. I don't do these incredibly 32, 36, 48-hour boils like some folks do to really just condense things. I think that takes, my personal opinion, one day I'll do it just because, but I think it takes it a little too far. I think the richness, though, that a first wort gives you is just something that you can't touch elsewhere.
When the Oreos, when are those added? Are those pre or post fermentation?
Post fermentation. So
Okay.
there's a bit of sugar on those, but I put them in post fermentation, and I let them condition warm so that anything might happen, it does make its way out of there. And they sit on them for at least 7 days. In this case, it was 7 days at 60 degrees. So anything that was going to happen made its way into the equation. There's obviously sugars in those and stuff like that. So I don't want exploding cans. So that was, one side of this. But a beer like that, you want to give a little bit of extra time to make sure that you don't run in those scenarios.
I would say the thing I love most about what you're doing at Fourscore is that you're doing super, I would say, experimental things and just ridiculous things with beers, but none of it doesn't come off as gimmicky at all. It's all truly done well, and more like you're just super into experimenting and just seeing how far you can push it, and there's no gimmick involved.
I'm lucky because the ownership there, they're beer people. The Leedy family, they are beer people through and through, and this is what they wanted. It's just something they're passionate about, and they pushed me towards. And it's been kind of fun. Like, these are not necessarily like I'm drinking cocktail tonight. These aren't things that the exception of pastry stouts. These aren't things I go after too often. Fruited sours and stuff like that. So it's fun. Like, there comes a mentality. I think this might be one reason Niko and I get along so well, because it's that idea of experimentation. It's that idea of flavor profiles, and just dreaming stuff up and finding inspiration wherever we can. So, like, a lot of these, the fruited sours. I know you're a big fan of the Jamba series, Chris.
Absolutely love them.
Thank you. But a lot of the ideas of those come from other places. They come from other. They don't come from beer, that's for sure. And it's just trying to find, like, those flavor profiles that I can bring into the beer world and do them in a different way, and hopefully in my way. Which, again, I'm just trying to always, like, nothing just kind of. It's not shooting from the hip anymore. It's very well thought of, and it's it's kind of formulaic in some ways at this point, but in a good way, in a really natural way, and that's the way it's kind of come to be. Just finding stuff that people respond to. We did a mimosa, a tangerine mimosa keg for Mother's Day of Jamba. I have a system where it's completely, CO2 enclosed to do one-off kegs. Little extra manpower, but the response has been great on those. So I did that. Half a keg sold out in a little less than 2 hours. Like, the response has been insane. So that's something that makes me feel good and makes me feel like, people are digging what I'm doing, especially right now where things are so weird that finding some sense of normalcy is tough. So at least if they're finding it in what I'm doing and what we're doing, and I think Niko feels the same. We've talked about this. Finding that sense of normalcy right now is something that definitely drives me day to day.
That's well, actually, real quick, I want to pose the question: anyone who is watching that participated in a virtual beer dinner, I would just like to hear what you thought of the experience, how the food was prepared for you to finish off, and if you found the video useful. So if you participated, please leave a comment now. We'd love that feedback. But so I want to go back to some of the things you said, Ben. The comparison to Niko, I think, is perfect because I don't think there is a food or flavors or things that Niko won't mess with and combine together and just experiment the hell out of with cooking.
Well, exactly, and it all ties in. I was fortunate to do a lot of traveling, so I got to experiment different cultures, and with cultures, each culture has their own sort of list of signatures, like style of dance and music and art and literature and theater, and of course food is one of those signatures. And so anytime I got to travel, and the first thing, of course, I went to, besides the music, I would venture into the local markets and just imagine it's kind of like fusing different cultures, just pulling inspiration. Different, it might be a spice, might be an herb, it might be a protein, it might be a vegetable, might be a grain. But again, just kind of noticing certain things that stick with me, remembering them, and then sort of immersing them into another culture, and kind of, again, just kind of a fusion, and just playing with that idea. And that's what makes it so fun for me, is that.
Well, one of the things I learned quickly, that looking over, I used to look at the menus before the beer dinners, and there would be times like I would think, that doesn't really sound that good. It's not something I would eat, but I tried anyway, and it was always just great. Like, I don't know that I've ever had something and didn't like it. Like, it's you just have a way of mixing things that I hate together and them tasting great.
Well, I'm sure Ben can attest to this, but along with experimentation, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you realize you're onto something and you see it all the way through, using logic, and measurements and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's funny you say it. We had a Chris and Gordon who participated tonight. Gordon, which doesn't make much sense. Gordon's fisherman. He does not like fish at all. But I guess whatever I do with the fish, he's always signing up for the beer dinners and actually enjoys eating the fish.
Well, I used to never bring Beth to them because she hates seafood, but it's rare that she ends up pushing over a seafood meal to me to finish. She's like, she won't, outside of Roasthouse Pub, she will not touch seafood, but she's enjoyed several courses of ones that you prepared.
That's awesome. And it, again, it's very similar to men. There's art and science involved, but you just treat your ingredients, you embrace them, you know where you're sourcing them from. Obviously, you understand their profile as far as texture and flavor, and then with the experience, you know how to handle them and treat them with the respect that they deserve. I can go get a bucket of cheap scallops anywhere, and I can make a real crappy seafood Newburgh that's been on every buffet at the Sheraton Inn on Mother's Day across the world. But I'm going to tell you, there's nothing better than handling some fresh, dry boat day scallops and just handling them properly and cooking them properly. And it's night and day. It's like the difference between eating canned beets and fresh beets. I mean, it's really is night and day.
So Niko and I were joking last night that at the end of the video I should have yelled, "Take your shirt off" in honor of you. So Larry, we appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
There's some actually, and we'll put up some other ones. There's some nice long ones. The food was packaged perfectly, and that was, I think, what made everything out. Like from that point on, that's what made everything great.
Yeah, I mean, I actually sat there and saw it, and I was amazed. You know, the amount of thought that those guys put into it, you know, Niko and team put into it, was pretty incredible. You know, really put things in an easy situation, in a manageable situation where, like, I think if I were doing it outside looking in, like the experience with that had to be cool in itself. You know, you're participating in this thing and you're able to put together literally a masterpiece on your own through instruction in your own house. It's awesome. It's just a really cool concept and so well executed.
We're getting some feedback now, Chris. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. I mean, it's basically exactly what we were hoping for. That it couldn't have been easier.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Bill.
Yes, thank you so much.
So it sounds like you need to make Wookiee Monster again for them.
There might be another canning run this week. I don't know.
Just possibly. Who knows?
Maybe Friday.
That was
Just to throw it out there, possibly on Friday.
This is Ben. I had one of the two I had all together last night, which is fantastic. I had Wookiee Monster, and as soon as I smelled it and took a sip, I went cookie.
Right? Those weird ideas on a Saturday afternoon. I'm just sitting there watching TV, and I'm like, yeah, it has to happen. But I know it's spelled wrong, but the word Wookiee with 2 E's is trademarked. And that is a corporation that I do not want coming after me in any which way. So as a Star Wars fan, like, it kind of hurt to put it on there misspelled, quote unquote. But I'm okay without that C&D letter.
I've heard Disney has a little bit of money.
Just I mean, we already walked the line with Baby Yoda. I'm on that one. Not the fluff. It's, you know, we're going for the trifecta on this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a little break for a little while. Disney stuff. Well, maybe. I don't know.
So Niko, when's the next one?
Well, we're gonna just continue like I guess we normally would, and we're gonna a month out from now. We're gonna do it again.
Who's it gonna be with?
I think I'd like to talk with Mara first.
I mean, that's probably a wise decision.
Mara is super knowledgeable. She's fantastic. She's another person that I work so well with, and her enthusiasm and passion for beer. So I need to get Mara's feedback on that.
I got some good friends that just started canning some beer on a big basis up in Williamsport. I know you've done one before, but
it's been a while. It's been a long time since you did a Kushwa one. That would be a good one to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all in. Let's do it.
So we could definitely look forward to one in June.
Yes.
Brewery to be determined.
Correct. Although I'm liking where Ben's head is going, and I'm sure Mara would agree.
And Mara can't wait. So you had said earlier you were working on some menu changes. Was that adding things like during this time, or was that adding things before the world caught on fire?
It was before the world caught on fire. We were looking to update our core menu, but then the world caught on fire, and then well, it'd just be kind of damn smart to not necessarily reinnovate, but be proactive. And I guess, everybody's using this term pivot, but, we just need to make sure we're in that position to make the pivot that we need to make.
Just don't use the term new normal or in these uncertain times.
I'm not a politician.
Well, I feel like I usually listen to the radio every morning to Elliot in the morning, and I feel like every single commercial starts out with a variation of one of those two sayings.
Have you gotten a new roof yet that you've deferred your payments in 12 months?
3 years.
So Ben, do you have any exciting beers coming up you want to give people hints on?
I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to like right now I'm literally only brewing 2 days a week and canning 3 days a week. Our system is just not set up for what we're doing right now, and at some point that's going to change because I won't have beer to can, and I'm not far away from it. We're just working on just keeping the same stuff, trying to keep hazy stuff in the system right now. Honestly, I'm running out of course. I'm running out of kind of everything, which is a great problem to have, but it's still a problem. We have we were going to focus on George Lucas this month. Just do a bunch of stuff, and that kind of, again, we'll use the word again, it pivoted. But I do have a really cool, like well, just give a little sneak of it. It's an Indiana Jones themed hazy IPA. Nothing crazy, just sub 8%. I think we're looking at about 7.5 on it, with some Citra, some Motueka, and some Simcoe Cryo. I'm getting back into using some cryo hops and stuff like that. The price is outrageous, but I'm really happy with the results right now, and so that's not too far away on that one.
I like John all the way up to this point.
Yeah, Ben brings up a fantastic point. We're also not set up to be a local little pizza shop for carry out and delivery. And so, again, we need to adapt, and we are, and we will continue to improve that system. But it's these are the things now that we're faced with as being a part of a small business. And luckily for Ben and I, we've got a great support, both ownership, my wife, and for and the community that we're both active in. So it's very important. Anybody else out there watching, it's okay if you need to come off of your norm or the way you're used to doing things. And I know it's scary, and I know it's an unknown territory for you, and it is. But you know what? It's just a matter of making decisions and moving on them. And you got to do what you got to do, and that's what we're doing. So I know Ben's working his ass off. I've talked to him several times as this has been coming along to now, and I know he's working his ass off he's running cans like a madman. And again, he's doing that because he realizes their business model has to change, and it's not forever, but he understands that, and that's why you're going to see Ben on the other side, and that's why you're going to see us on the other side, is just having that ability to accept that change and moving on it.
Yeah, it's not what we like, what we necessarily want, but we realize that right now we have to be nimble, we have to adjust, and we have to do what we have to do to survive. And right now, I think we're all, I keep saying this, and it's my thing, we're just trying to find normal right now, and there isn't normal, but we have to find normal within what is. And for us, this is not at all what we're built for, but people are responding, and it's great. And I think that it's the same with Roasthouse, it's the same with Niko and his team. Like, people are responding, and we're just trying to find a way to do it. So the patience, the dedication that folks are giving us, and the support that folks are giving us, it's not going unnoticed, and it's super appreciated. And I know, like, for me, like, Gettysburg, the folks who are around there, it's a tourist-driven town. So the community that sticks around there year round, it's not huge. And they've been, for a brewery that's been open less than a year, the amount of support that's been given has been incredible. And even the folks in Maryland, the folks I've known for years, coming over the line and grabbing stuff and going home and sharing it, whether it be food or beer, whatever it is, I see folks, and I can't tell everyone just how much it's appreciated. And like Niko said, I'm crazy busy, and it's just me back there. It was built to be just me. I'm getting a little bit of help right now, but it's rewarding because we're seeing folks respond, and I see folks, checking the beers and texting me about beers and stuff like that, and it makes me feel so good. It makes me keep going. Just that positive response, and the fact that folks are finding some sense of what their everyday life might have been like before this in what we're doing is just so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of Frederick people posting photos of your beers in beer drinking groups on Facebook and on Instagram. So there's definitely a large amount of people heading north from Frederick to get your beer.
Yeah, no, I seriously can't appreciate that.
So
just how much I appreciate that.
You should do us a solid and make it easier for us.
Something lined up with my good friend at Canada District East. I mean, he got me my start in this industry. Literally got me my start in this industry. Got me my first interview. And there was something lined up, and all this happened, and things just, here we are. So at some point, like, that is still in the plans. It's still in the works. But for now, it's just day by day, just trying to figure out what we are and what we're doing, and try to just keep up right now.
Oh, well, just know I will continue to harass you about it.
We'll get there one day. I promise.
I mean, it's not that far to drive up there. I don't mind it that much, but if I could just drive to District East, it would be so much better.
Convenience is everything. I obviously have a lot of, Frederick connections. So, like, that was in Frederick's our closest, we'll say, big area in Maryland. And that's we're never going to go far. We're never going to grow. We are what we are. And Frederick was always, thank you, Mara. The Frederick was always the focus for us. So it's going to happen. We never want our beer to go further than an hour away from where we're at. So that's, Frederick, downtown Crown, and Baltimore. That's it. And it's going to be in limited amounts in all those. We just are what we are. We're very happy with that. We're small. We're nimble. We're able to kind of keep up with trends and keep up with demands and be able to react on the fly with things. So that's what we're going to continue to always be.
So, Niko, how much of importance did you having a food truck play into right now?
A great question. As far as the food truck, we actually had planned 4 months ago to remodel the kitchen. Had already signed a contract, down payments, and of course the world caught on fire. And so what we're able to do is continue with the remodeling. Of course, we weren't on a tight timeline or schedule to get it wrapped up so we could reopen to the public. Obviously, we can't do that right now. So we were able to take our time, and we consolidated our resources onto the food truck out front of the restaurant and operated out of there for about 3.5 weeks. But now, since we have moved back in to the newly renovated kitchen, which, by the way, is beautiful, I'm super excited. And now what we're going to be doing is I get probably 2 to 3 emails a week on larger neighborhoods and requesting that we bring the food truck out. And, for example, one of the emails said that they could guarantee at least 50 families ordering food. So we're going to go ahead and mobilize the food truck and start utilizing that way as well.
I know people in my community Facebook page are constantly whining that they wish food trucks would come through. I hate most of those people. I was kicked out of that group once already, and I came. Yeah, they're so insufferable, and so I just won. So at the lake, there's geese everywhere. So people will complain about the geese. Then people will start complaining about the people who complain about the geese. And then there's a farm right next to the community that's been there forever that people from the farm will hunt the geese. And then the people complain about that. So I spent like a week or two just blaming everything someone posted about on geese. And apparently it annoyed someone to the point that they kicked me out. And then I may have pissed off someone else a week or two ago. And it's
I just can't believe that ever happening.
But Bill Russell is completely correct. Ben brews the smoothest beers that exist.
I'm not going to touch that one.
There's nothing but smooth beer coming out of Fourscore Beer Company.
Gotta know when you're beat.
All right, gentlemen, I kind of want to go home. So I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you guys want to cover.
I need a refresh here, so
yeah. I want to have a Wookiee monster, but I don't want to have that here.
Yeah,
because I want to
have one. It's delicious.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go home to have that. I can't thank you two enough for your time tonight, and including me in all the festivities. It was a really fun time, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
And thank you guys so much. It was awesome. What a great time, and so good to see you both. We appreciate everything, and looking forward to doing it again.
Thank you all. I mean, thank you guys. Thank everybody who participated. Thank everybody I saw my friend Bob. I was in his wedding. He was in my wedding. Like, he wants to get on this next time. Like, this is an awesome concept, and I'm really excited to see this going forward. And I'll be there watching and commenting and all this stuff going forward. But I think this was just, for a first time, one take thing, I couldn't imagine it going better. And, that has a lot to do with you guys. And I made the beer ahead of time. I showed up. I said a few words. I was awkward as usual, and I left, and I'm here now drinking a cocktail, and that's all I've done in this. Like, you guys really who took this to these folks and everybody out there and really made it a great experience. So kudos, and, cheers to you guys.
Cheers to you, brother. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen, one more time. And thank you, everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you, everyone that participated in the first ever. I'm just going to say it's the first ever because I've never seen anything about it. So I'm going to say you made a groundbreaking invention, or whatever we want to call it. And it's the first ever virtual beer dinner.
Awesome. Let's call it the first ever.
So next month we will have the second ever. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, everyone who participated tonight. Have a good evening, and cheers.
Cheers.